Hello and welcome to Game of Box Office. Today we will make a prediction on the box office performance of Independence Day Resurgence. Let's start right away. Independence Day Resurgence is the sequel to Independence Day, which was released 20 years ago and is still recognized as one of the most classic sci-fi movies from the last 2 decades. In 1996, Independence Day was a box office monster. It grossed $306 million in the USA and Canada and $511 million in the rest of the world, for a combined worldwide total of $817.4 million. This gross back in 1996 was absolutely insane, and after 20 years, Independence Day is still the 51st highest grossing movie in the domestic market and the 51st highest grossing movie worldwide. When you adjust the ticket prices for inflation, Independence Day would have grossed $602.6 million in the domestic market alone, and that's without taking 3D ticket prices into account, which will help Independence Day Resurgence of course a lot. From all of the box office crown contenders of 2016, Independence Day Resurgence is probably the biggest surprise box of them all. Just like Independence Day Resurgence will be directed by Roland Emmerich, a German director who made a name for himself by directing a big amount of disaster movies with Independence Day, Godzilla, The Day After Tomorrow 2012, and movies like White House Down, 10,000 BC and Stargate, which fall in this category partly. Unfortunately, Independence Day was Roland Emmerich's biggest box office hit, and since then every movie of him has performed not as good as Independence Day. While Godzilla, The Day After Tomorrow and 2012 were still box office successes, the domestic power of his movies went down hard, with 2012 for example only grossing $166 million in the USA and Canada and about $603 million in the rest of the world, nearly 3.7 times the amount overseas in comparison with the domestic gross. On top of that, Independence Day Resurgence opens 2 weeks after Warcraft and 1 week after Finding Dory, and 3 weeks, 4 weeks and 5 weeks after the release it has to face off against Ghostbusters, Star Trek Beyond and Jason Bourne. So there are big movies right before and after Resurgence to be released. The biggest pro point for Independence Day Resurgence is the nostalgia. In 2015 we have seen the effect heavily with Jurassic World. Jurassic World opened to over $208 million and finished its run with $652 million in the USA and Canada and $1.018 billion in the rest of the world, resulting in a combined total $1.67 billion worldwide. This enormous gross came together partly because of the huge nostalgia factor that comes with the Jurassic Park franchise. Star Wars The Force Awakens also benefited from the nostalgia factor, and we all know how historical the movie performed in the last few months and is still performing. While the nostalgia factor with Star Wars and Jurassic World is probably bigger than with Independence Day, it's still possible that it will carry the movie to huge grosses when the quality is equal or better to the original Independence Day. Alright, now that we talked about the negative and positive factors of the likely performance of Independence Day Resurgence, let's start off with our pessimistic prediction. When Independence Day opens and the quality is horrible, what is actually not so unlikely with Roland Emmerich, we see a domestic total of $180 million and an overseas total of $420 million for a combined worldwide total of $600 million. A lot of people will say that this prediction is just too low, but when the movie really opens to horrible reviews and most audiences are pissed off, the nostalgia factor will not come into play, since the opening weekend will be not that big and the multiplier will be very low. Also, the movie does not have an actor who can carry a movie or who is able to carry a bigger amount of audience into the cinema. What is our realistic prediction on Independence Day Resurgence? Well, when the movie opens to good reviews and the overall style and tone of the film remembers the audiences a lot of the old Independence Day, the numbers will go up insanely from the pessimistic prediction. In this scenario we see a domestic total of $290 million and an overseas total of $590 million for a combined worldwide total of $880 million. This enormous $280 million jump from the pessimistic scenario is happening because the nostalgia factor actually will come into play when the movie opens to quite good reviews, and also the competition will not hurt Independence Day Resurgence that much in this scenario. The big question is now what will happen when the movie exceeds all expectations. When the quality is high, the movie receives great reviews from critics and audiences love the sequel as much as the original Independence Day. When this situation becomes reality, how far can the nostalgia factor carry the movie? We think that the optimistic ceiling for Independence Day Resurgence lies somewhere around $530 million in the US and Canada, as well as $720 million in the overseas markets, for a worldwide total of $1.25 billion. In this scenario, no movie will be able to hurt the run of Resurgence, because the nostalgia factor will be just too big. When you now compare this scenario to the optimistic prediction we did on Civil War, Batman vs Superman and Rogue One, you can see that we think that Independence Day Resurgence has the smallest chance out of these movies to be the box office king this year. But as you can see, all of these worldwide grosses are coming in very close. So when all of these movies overperform, it will be a very close race. Also, never forget, we still have Finding Dory left to predict. Our next video will be an analysis on Deadpool, The Hangover, or a prediction about Finding Dory. We hope you enjoyed this prediction. Be sure to hit a like and subscribe to our channel. You can also support us on the social networks listed below. See you soon, bye bye.